Let's bring in Dr. Jonathan Spire from the Middle East Forum, joins us live from Jerusalem. Good to talk to you again, Jonathan. You've written about this in the Australian newspaper too. I mean, you know the region and the machinations so well. Tell us why you think that Israel striking at Qatar, striking Hamas targets in Qatar, is actually a good thing for the prospects in the Middle East.
Well, Chris, I think it was a positive move in the sense that it establishes a certain clarity where there has been much damaging ambiguity in recent years. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. The fact is that the Emirate of Qatar has played a kind of double game across the region over the last couple of decades, really, in that it has both, on the one hand, offered support to and domiciled many of the most harmful Islamist terrorist organizations and propagandists. And then on the other hand, it offers itself as a kind of mediator between those organizations and their enemies. So it mediated between the United States and the Taliban, for example, and it has sought to mediate between Israel and Hamas. But this is not really a sustainable situation where you, on the one hand, facilitate, frankly, the activities of a terror group, and on the other hand, claim to be part of the solution. You can't really be both. And I think that Israel's decision to strike at the Hamas leadership in Doha, it's not clear, by the way, of course, as you know, what the results of that strike were. But nevertheless, the act of the strike itself, I think, is significant in that it's kind of saying to Qatar, look, that practice is not sustainable. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists, and you need to decide.
Yeah, you've said that it's like they're the arsonist and the firefighters at the same time in supporting terrorism, including with its substantial dollars. Tell us also about the role of the Qatari-owned Al Jazeera broadcasting network and what it does for Islamist or terrorist support in the region.
The fact of the matter is that the Al Jazeera network, the lavishly funded and very professional Al Jazeera network, has been fanning the flames of Islamist insurgency across the Middle East over the last 2 decades, with pretty heinous results, frankly, in many cases. That's to say, if we think of the loss of 2 authoritarian but pro-Western regimes in the region, in Tunisia, Ben Ali's regime in Tunisia, and then the Mubarak regime in Egypt. This was, to a considerable extent, the result of the propaganda activities of Al Jazeera, fanning the flames, spreading the message of the Islamist organizations and preachers, people like the late Yusuf Qaradawi, one of the main Muslim Brotherhood preachers, who made his home in Doha over the years. So it's had a very heinous effect, and much blood and treasure has been spent in reversing the results of those activities in recent years. And I think up to and including, frankly, the recent coming to power of the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham movement in Syria, which used to call itself Jabhat al-Nusra, used to be part of al-Qaeda, and has been the beneficiary both of the support of the Al Jazeera network and indeed large amounts of dollars coming out of Qatar.
Let me just pick your brains quickly on the latest developments in Qatar. They're linked to a social media post by US President Donald Trump, who says that Hamas has moved, there are media reports, Hamas has moved hostages above ground to use them as human shields against Israel's ground offensive. He says that he hopes the leaders of Hamas know what they're getting into if they do such a thing. This is a human atrocity, the likes of which few people have seen before. Don't let this happen. All bets are off. Release the hostages now. We keep hearing these ultimatums from Donald Trump. Has anything changed?
Well, as you know, Chris, what's happening right now is that the IDF, Israel Defense Force, is gearing up for an operation of profound significance, namely its entry into Gaza City itself. And what Hamas is doing by this dreadful tactics of now using Israeli hostages, not for the first time, as human shields, is it's trying to deter Israel from making that move. There's a very little amount of time left, I think, for a deal on the hostages. I hope profoundly, as all must, that Hamas chooses, to release the hostages prior to Israel's IDF entry into Gaza City. If they don't, then I'm afraid we have some pretty difficult days ahead.
Yeah, shocking situation. Thanks so much for your analysis, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Jonathan Spire there, live from Jerusalem.